what does trust mean to you, especially when it comes to partners?
It is about trust. I've heard this for many, many years, which is some version of this. Like, Mark, your team's great. I like meeting with this woman, this man in your team. They're great. I don't see your rep enough. And what they're really saying is that's the person I'm going to walk into my account with, or that engineer is going to walk into my account with me, not you necessarily. Are they going to make me look bad? Are they going to say things that don't make sense? Are they going to be such a commercial for their tech that they're missing the sort of forest for the trees? And
Sure.
people that have the right sort of EQ balance to be able to handle that and do that, those are reps at the vendor side that partner reps really want to engage with, and partner leaders and partner SEs, they really want to engage with.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Cybersecurity Stand Up. Today, so normally I invite guests on who are outside of my organization because I really like to get different perspectives, that kind of thing. But it's always really nice for me to have a chance to talk to someone who is within the Uptycs community. They know the product, they know all the tech. We speak the same language. And I've got a very exciting guest on from Uptycs today, who's our VP of the partner program that we just started called Upward. So we'll be talking a little bit about that. But more importantly, I want to talk about the man, the myth, the legend himself, Mark Fitzmaurice. Thanks for joining us. And can you introduce yourself to the people?
Thank you, Bronwyn. Yes, Mark Fitzmaurice, based here out of Austin, Texas, and I have the pleasure of running global channels here at Uptycs.
Fantastic. So Mark, I actually, one thing that you and I haven't talked about in our many things that we've created together so far is like your story. So can you tell us, how'd you get started in this industry? How'd you come up? Tell us about how you got into partner marketing. Like how did it all happen for you?
Yeah, sure. No, it's happy to do that. I love talking. I love talking about myself, like most people. So, my journey started quite a while ago, over 2 decades ago, and I was really on the partner side first. I worked for a resale division of GE called GE Capital IT Solutions, and I was hired in as their director of marketing for the Northeast. GE had gone and acquired a number of resellers to create this huge global entity, and we were very successful. We had a lot going on. I love running marketing back then because the soft dollars were flowing. There was a lot of money from the large and medium and small vendors out there to do lots of creative activities and interesting things to get in front of customers, to get things out there. I think one of my favorite ones I remember was doing the NFL Players Association. So NFL was a customer, and the NFL Players Association was a customer, and we put together a promotion so that every new rookie that came into camp got this packet. And in that packet was something from us about how you can buy your laptop, you can buy your tech and that kind of thing. Sounds silly now because they can go online and do it pretty easily. But back then it wasn't easy to find tech. You had to go into a store to do it. So we kind of streamlined that for them and put together some creative bounce back pieces that try to get their attention and interest. So we would do creative and fun things like that. From there, I moved into the vendor side where I've remained. So I always gravitated towards maybe the complicated. I think there's money in complexity, right? In taking the hard thing and making it approachable for channels and for buyers. So I did that in storage virtualization at companies like DataCore Software and Falcon Store, where I was able to work on the channel team and run the channel team at DataCore for a while there. Also got involved with some OEM type deals where we got hooked into other people like a Dell or an IBM or an HP and get connected into their worlds where they were either selling it as their brand or selling it alongside their brand as a bundled solution. And that was pretty exciting. That led me into high performance computing, where we did that quite a bit with Dell and HP, as well as with Red Hat, where we integrated our solutions together and sold them out through the high performance computing market out there. And a lot of large universities, a lot of government entities that are putting together these very fast supercomputer type HPC clusters. So you have someone like a Qualcomm at the time running 30, 40, 50,000 nodes. You had universities that were running that many nodes. And
Wow.
that was fun. It was always interesting. They were always comparing the cost of acquiring more nodes and getting higher on the top 500 list with the cost of software like ours, which let them orchestrate it a lot more effectively and efficiently.
Yeah.
So it was a fun journey. And then from there, got into more the network and security side of the house with Juniper, and then moving. Juniper was great. We actually also had a relationship with Dell at the time, but really working more on learning the networking side of the business, learning the security side of the business with firewalls and so forth. And that led me really more into more pure play securities coming out of like Infoblox was core network services. So there I ran large GSI partnerships. I had the chance of working with the Accentures of the world and the Atoses and so forth, and building into these big broad solutions, or maybe they were managing it on behalf of their customers. And so we worked with, at the time we called them GOSIs, Global Outsourcing Systems Integrators, and did a lot of great work with folks there, HP Enterprise Services before it became DXC. So really fun journey. Again, finding the kind of complicated scenarios and turning it more streamlined and driving revenue for all sides and driving great solutions for customers. And we did that. So I did that at Infoblox. Infoblox was doing DNS, DHCP, IP address management, DDI. Okay. And DNS security was becoming more and more of a concern because you have to leave DNS, port 53 pretty much open so that internet traffic flows in and out of an organization. But that's also where bad actors can exfiltrate using that. And we did some clever things there. We had a website where we could show partners how, look, we'll put in a fake credit card number or fake social security number or some information in text, and how we can move that out through that, or even a photo could be recreated using DNS. They could take little bits and pieces of it and have it land on the other side. A little bit like Mike TV in the Willy Wonka franchise, like how he landed over here as the smaller version. Yeah. This was your same information landing over here. And you're like, wait a minute, how did that happen? Well, it happened over DNS. And so you have to be very aware of those exfiltrations that are happening through DNS. And we did that. So that really led me into more pure play security, is that DNS pivot from the Juniper side with the firewall series over into DNS security. And that got me into XDrop. But we really helped define a category called network detection and response. And that was a really exciting journey from a company that was doing 40, 50 million in revenue to, when we exited, it was closer to 200 million in revenue, with a really healthy acquisition and a really healthy market share over that time. Really proud of the journey that we had as a company and as a channel organization, because we grew into the company, we grew global with the company, and our partners really mattered there. So I know that's a lot. And then to get us to upticks, I spent some time with a company called IronScales and email security. I wanted to find something that was a little easier to talk about than network traffic and detection response. And email was great. And they had a very advanced product in the ICAS space that could both operate at the mailbox level, like the modern solutions do, and detect anomalies and pull them out automatically, but also provide visibility into the SOC teams. And we did some really, there I was very excited about what we were able to accomplish with managed security service providers, where the MSSPs were, and even MSPs that weren't as security savvy. This could be their answer to email security. It was very easy to deploy, easy to manage across multiple tenants, and easy to drive value for the customers through these MSPs. It was really, really fun. We had over 10,000 customers, and over 9,000 of those were managed service provider driven accounts.
Wow.
So that was exciting. So now here we are at Upticks, right? Building out a channel, building out a team, building out the right acumen, going 100% channel, and trying to make an impact.
Love it. Before we dive into it, comes some more upticksy stuff. I want to ask you, you've moved from security realm to security realm across these companies. So as someone who's kind of hopped around like that, how have you stayed up to date and been able to learn about all of these sort of security niches? Because the industry obviously keeps expanding, it keeps changing. What's that been like for you, trying to learn all of this new tech for, sounds like, every new job?
Yeah, the answer to the questions like that used to be, I go to this specific publication. It's not one pub anymore, one thing. It's a lot of different things. I'll register for webinars that I see out there. I'll read articles that I see on LinkedIn and other social media posts. Someone will forward me something they saw on Twitter, and I'll read through that. I love to ingest that information, and a lot of it comes at me. But then I also have to proactively sometimes say, I don't understand this subject enough, and go out and find it. And a lot of times it's even that short article. Maybe it's my attention span, but I like to understand it in a high level first, and then dive in more deeply to some of the nuance to that. And I think it's a great question. Wherever you're working and whatever you're selling or promoting or marketing, you have to have context. No one wants to just hear about another solution they're layering on top. Right. What is the context for this? Does it integrate with anything else? Does it talk to anything else? What gap does it cover? And if you can't explain what other tech does, then you're really not as valuable to that customer or that partner as you think you are, because you're giving them a problem to solve. Here's this really cool widget that does this thing,
Yeah.
but they don't understand. Does this trump the thing that I sold 6 months ago, or is this additive to that,
Right.
or does this integrate with that? And you have to provide that kind of context. And I learned that early in my career.
Yeah.
One of my first, the company I moved down to Austin for, a company called Crossroads. But I met someone there that he was a great rep, because when we went and talked to partners, they would ask him questions about things that had nothing to do with our tech. And he would answer those questions. That bought him credibility. They got him a seat at the table. And then we were able to talk more about what we did. And I've taken that with me the whole way through.
I think that's so wise. Like having, I was actually reading Ross Halaluke's book, the Cyber for Builders book that he just came out with, which is excellent. I've shouted him out, but it's really good. And one thing he points out is that it's not only the issue of like point solutions, it's the fact that like cybersecurity as a horizontal has changed so fast and so many times, especially with cloud, right? Like that was a huge, huge change. But it means that if you've specialized, I don't know, you might have done yourself a disservice. Like being able to keep learning and keep adding these like larger topics onto your educational sort of like background means that even if you aren't an expert in any one topic, you actually have a much broader perspective, a much more holistic understanding of like why security in the first place, why does compliance matter? And like being able to answer those questions means that you're able to talk to businesses more often in their languages. Have you found that to be the case as well?
I love that, because I think you're onto something. I think we all have to be looking outside of ourselves. We have to look at contextualizing what we're doing. And you're right. If you can't explain all of it, if you don't understand the depth, I don't think you're really solving the problem. People have pain and security that they want to solve, right? There's a lot coming at them. There's a lot they want to filter through. And if you're not careful, you walk through a big trade show and you'll hear a lot of messages that sound just like yours, right? I go to RSA every year. I go to Black Hat every year, some international conferences, JISEC and others. And sometimes you hear things that sound just like you. So then you've got to be able to say, no, not this, and go a layer below that and understand things more broad than that. And there's a lot of information I've ingested like you that has led me down that path where I can do that.
Yeah, love that. It's a similar kind of question for you, actually. Another thing that Ross Halaluke talks about kind of in detail is this whole concept that the field of cybersecurity rests on, which is trust. And I'd love to kind of pick your brain, like, what does trust mean to you, especially when it comes to partners? Because often those are kind of personal relationships you're building, right?
That's so yeah, we'll pivot. We'll kind of correlate that, right? Security to the channel world. It is about trust. I've heard this for many, many years, which is some version of this. Like, Mark, your team's great. I like meeting with this woman, this man, and your team. They're great. I don't see your rep enough. And what they're really saying is that's the person that I'm going to walk into my account with, or that engineer is going to walk into my account with me, not you necessarily. So, are they going to make me look bad? Are they going to say things that don't make sense? Are they going to be such a commercial for their tech that they're missing the sort of forest for the trees? And people that have the right sort of EQ balance to be able to handle that and do that, those are reps at the vendor side that partner reps really want to engage with, and partner leaders and partner SEs, they really want to engage with, because they not only are looking to solve and understand the customer's pain with them, but they're also looking to support that partner. So maybe they won't bring up a service that they do that the partner already does. Maybe they won't bring up some tech something that they do feature functionality wise that the partner's already sold that, something alongside of that. So then therefore don't talk about replacing the thing they sold last month. Talk about the thing that complements that. So it's a sort of a technology meets sales meets trust to that. And you see it over and over again, but the reps that are trusted on the vendor side by the partner reps, they're the ones that get brought in when they do move 5 years later to somewhere else. They're dying to bring them in because that person makes them look better. And that's really at the end of the day what it is. It's you're saying trust, and it absolutely is that trust, but it's really trusting that their job is just like your boss is looking for you to make them look good. These people are looking for the people who are surrounding them from the different vendors to make them look good in front of their customer and put them first.
And that totally makes sense. Yeah. Okay. So similar question. A lot of times on this podcast, I'll ask folks what they think about the sort of divide between technical and non-technical. And you mentioned in your answer EQ, right? And one thing that I find so fascinating is that it seems like the people who really are crushing it in this industry, not only, yeah, they have the technical context, they get it, they get why security, this kind of stuff,
Sure.
but they have a high EQ. Like, do you have an opinion on or any thoughts around like what are the other sort of soft skills, the non-technical skills that are really valuable in this industry?
Yeah. So I think I'll start off kind of repeating what you said. There is a need for some level of technical knowledge. I don't think you have to be
Yeah,
deep. I think it's okay if people around you are deeper and can go into more depth. But I do think you have to have, again, context, understanding of what's going on and what they're talking about. So you should
yeah,
have one or two clicks level of depth to be dangerous, and that's it. But I
yeah,
think there's other soft skills that matter a lot too. I think one of them is listening. Right, active listening is undervalued in this industry and probably in this world right now, where someone's trying to explain something to you and you're just trying to get to the answer that you've already predetermined that you want. And what it leads
yeah,
you to do is to cut off that piece that they were to tell you that was going to lead to something else you could be doing. It, in a silly way, it reminds me of that old Seinfeld episode where the lawyer had Kramer there. They're about to do a settlement with the company, and the company behind the scenes was ready to pay them out all this money. But they said, well, we want to give you a lifetime supply of coffee. And he said, I'll take it. But there was an and after that, right? There was more there. They were going to give him cash. And he cut him off before they gave him that. And I think we all can be guilty of that, where we cut that person off before they either willing to give us something or give us valuable information that would lead to a better response from us. And I think that's some of this speaks to sort of a strategic selling approach, right? Where you're asking questions first, right? You're inquiring first. You're pulling in information about their environment. You've earned the right to ask those questions. You can't just be peppering them with 20, 50 questions in a row, but you do earn the right to do that by explaining why you're
yeah.
there, what you're looking to gather. And then you come back and present solutions through the partner that meet those things that you heard about. And I think that approach to even a conversation can be valuable to be more of an active listener.
Oh, I think that is such great advice, but I have to ask you to go one click deeper. Like,
Sure.
do you think that skill of active listening can people learn that? And if they can, how do they do it?
I think it's, I think I think you can learn things to make you better at it. I think some people
Yeah.
are naturally better at it. So I think there are some things that are it's nature versus nurture. Some people's nature has that in them. If it's not you and you need to learn that, I think catch yourself, right? Just think back to the last 10 minutes of the conversation. Much like this one, I've been doing a lot of the talking. But are you the ones been doing a lot of the talking? Then maybe stop and listen. Are you cutting them off mid sentence? Someone used this funny expression recently that I loved is did the middle of my sentence interrupt the beginning of yours, right?
I heard that
And
too.
I think that's very telling that that's a thing, right?
Yeah.
It's because they're not doing that. So I think it is a skill that can be learned. I think you stop and think about just the volume of words that are being said in the conversation. Are you giving them enough time? If you catch yourself cutting someone off twice in a conversation, especially in a row, just force yourself to not to talk. If you need to take a note about the thing that you want to say or the thing you want, then do that. Type it in your chat to yourself, right? Keep a note on that one. There are little tricks and tips you can use to keep yourself from doing that. And at the end of the day, that person, look, someone's buying you, right? Right now, someone listening to this is buying Bronwyn or buying into Mark, or you're selling a partner's selling a customer, but you're selling your brand. And if you want that brand to be perceived the right way, it's not only about what you said; it's about that person feeling heard and being said. Think of it like a date, right? If you're on a first date and you met for an hour over coffee, and you talked for 58 minutes, you might think that you were impressing upon them the need for that second date. Instead, you just taught them that everything about you is all about you and not about them. So I do think, to answer your question properly, it can be learned. You can learn ways to maybe cope with your inherent tendencies not to do that. And let's be honest, this isn't only based on the way we were pre-wired coming out of the womb. This is also the fact that the climate we live in doesn't really respect depth. Everything is headline only. The one paragraph answered everything. It's the quick thing. It's the everyone have to have an opinion about everything. I love this
Yeah.
lately, that we all have to have an instant opinion about something that just happened when maybe you don't know yet. Maybe you haven't digested it. Maybe you don't have depth on that subject matter. So stop, learn, research, or just listen to the other person who's got a more informed perspective on that one and drink that in. So I think all those things come into play to help coach someone through this, maybe if they're struggling with that.
Great advice, and I'm so impressed by the advice that you were able to spin up just then. I love the technique of like just jot down your not like your note. Like if you are really concerned that you're going to forget your thought, that's valid, right? It's totally
Sure.
valid that you want to remember that important thing you had to say, but writing it down is just as easy, and it's much more effective than interrupting someone. That's great advice. So I want to turn to the technical for a moment,
Sure.
having given the non-technical some airtime, and ask you, so you've been in the industry for basically 2 decades. That's so cool. I haven't. What's changed? Like, what are your big takeaways of like things that have changed, and kind of bringing that up to the contemporary time? What are your top security concerns? Like, is there something that keeps you awake at night? Like, you've been in this industry, you've seen it change. What's freaking you out?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I think what's changed is I had a full head of hair 20 years ago, and as much as I love the bald look, it was nice. It was nice. As far as what concerns me going forward is, look, we've all been talking about AI machine learning for almost a decade now, and really we've been saying that in security for a long time. I think the general population is now talking about it the last couple of years with these new LLMs out there, these chat GPT and apps like that are making it more approachable. And I think that is just the tip of the iceberg. I think it's just
Yeah.
woven into everything that we do now. So my concerns are probably what your concerns are, and everyone out there listening to this concerns are, which is data privacy and how that, just from a personal perspective, right? Data privacy and how that evolves, and those types of things evolve. But then also everything that we do in security, whether it's with AI, machine learning, or other things, everything we're doing, you almost have to think of it like a war. What weapons you have, then the bad guys have the same things they're bringing to their side of the fight. So anything you're doing has to respond to their attacks and has to prevent and preempt what they're trying to do. So I think we should never stop. This is why security is forever. Is we have to constantly think about what is being done to attack our valuable data, networks, company reputations, et cetera, valuable resources, valuable assets, critical assets. What is it doing to attack that, and how do we defend ourselves against that? So it's a bit tireless, I think, when it comes to that. From a technology perspective, I think there'll be more and more AI tools that'll make it easier for maybe entry level or level one SOC engineers to be able to handle things that are more complex. One, because the data is presented so swiftly and so filtered in a way they can act on, and that's true for upticks and other technologies too. But
Totally.
that helps. And then there's technologies like at my last company with email security that instead of me just reporting phishing on this one, can I ask a question of a chat model in the margins before I hit submit? And then it'll say, well, based on what we see, this is only 30% likely to be phishing for these reasons. And then you kind of rethink it and then you say, well, what about this? And the chat comes back with, yes, but this. And it tells you detailed information. So it's making everyone, even Bronwyn and Mark, a SOC engineer when it comes to responding to email threats. And maybe we're not classifying everything. So the more tools like that sort of upstream reduce the burden on a SOC team or on the CISO or security organization, I think that's where the future lies for all of us in the tech.
Oh, absolutely love that. I mean, I was gonna. I think when you're talking initially, I was like, okay, this is kind of a B2B answer, but I love how you're talking about human behavior. That is the most common reoccurrence in these conversations that I have, is that really we are talking about human behavior and how to have our tech work alongside it. So similar question, like maybe you could just expand on that answer potentially. I'm sure that you have people in your life who are like, Mark's in cybersecurity. Let me ask him what I should be doing with my passwords. Like, do you have any, top go-to personal security tip that you'd really recommend or think everyone's grandma should be doing? What do you think?
I thought you were going to ask my top 5 passwords that I tell my grandma to use. No, I can't give you that. I think some of them are just obvious, right? Just from a personal perspective, all of us should, and you see this with corporate policies too, but change passwords regularly. I know I'm guilty of that. I think all of us have been guilty of like, hey, this one's not so sensitive, so I'll use a password that maybe I use other places. Try not to do that. I've become more a fan lately of using a complicated password, the one that's suggested by the laptop or whatever, and saving that so you have a password manager built into the phone or built into the laptop. I think that's good. because it keeps somebody from the outside that's not on your laptop from getting in. That's much more likely than someone getting your fingerprint and getting into your laptop, that type of thing. So I think
Yeah.
that's just general good advice. I think it's also, this is going to sound silly, but it's just inspecting what's going on, picking up your head every once in a while and saying, make a little bit of detail of my credit card statement every 3 months just to see what's in there. Maybe there's something. Look, maybe it's not even a security threat. Maybe it's just something where I forgot I had the subscription and I don't want it anymore. But
Good
there was a
point.
time about 6, 7 years ago where my wife and I had our credit card number stolen 3 different times. There was something that was just
Oh no.
random on there, and by doing a little bit of light forensics, I pretty much figured out that there was a certain restaurant that we were going to that someone was making a copy of our card. There was no way around it. This is about a decade ago. I was so naive that I told the credit card company, I said, someone is just guessing numbers, right? They know the first eight. They said, sir, no. They have all the information going with this. They actually have the card. They have the CVV. So something else is going on here. And then you look at it and go, what's the common thread? It's like 3 times in 5 months this happened. And you're like, okay, I think I pretty much nailed it down to this thing. So I was my own SOC engineer figuring that one out. I think we have to just,
Wow.
I think awareness, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So change your password
Yeah.
often, be aware what's going on with your credit card statements, reassess what's going on with your own personal security at your house, just kind of picking up your head every once in a while and looking at that. I think what worries me more is that someone is grabbing my data or your data on an ongoing basis in a way that much like a security threat today, they're not doing something right away. Back 20 years ago, when we all first got on the internet, it was, oh, don't click on that link. Something bad will happen right now, right? They'll lock down everything. They'll email all your contacts. They'll whatever. But no, like good threat actors are lying in wait. And I think that's true at the corporate level and even at the personal level, that they're probably lying in wait and they're watching your email come through, for example. And the scariest one from a personal perspective that I think about, because my wife is in real estate, is Bronwyn's looking to go buy a house, right? Her new house. And she wires $80,000 to as a down payment on that house. And she wired it to somebody that wasn't her title company. And it's crazy how that happens. But this is just one example of just double check it. I had this happen recently where I was wiring money for some other reason. It wasn't real estate. And even though I knew everything about it, I just stopped and called the person and said, just want to make sure I've got the right information here. Let's get it live. It may sound like overkill, it may sound like a worrywart, but that kind of thing. And even applying this in a broader context to business, just having that level of awareness about what's possible, I think you got to trip up the bad guys every once in a while and change it up.
Great advice too. And you're, I think, unintentionally or maybe totally intentionally speaking the language of zero trust, right? The whole like trust but verify kind of attitude is like, yeah, no, I'm gonna do this, but let me just double check. And that moment of let me just double check is kind of the important thing, the important habit to maybe build in.
That's right. Yeah, zero trust approach even to your personal life is probably a good thing.
Yeah,
Without
yeah,
being paranoid,
exactly.
right? But just because you're paranoid doesn't mean you're wrong, right?
Oh, very well said. Put that on a t-shirt. Yeah.
I,
I love it.
I must have stole that from someone else's email, but it's a
You
good one
probably
though.
put
I
it on
like
a
that one a lot.
t-shirt. Yeah, right. I love it. So before we kind of wrap up here, I want to ask you a little bit about Upticks, honestly, because you've been here, you're building out this amazing partner program. What's something that really stands out to you about Upticks? What's something that you wish more people knew on this kind of surface level?
Yeah, sure. So what drew me in was the tech itself, the fact that their
Mm,
approach was end to end, core to cloud for real, and to correlate all of that. So to all the things we've already been talking about on a personal and on a B2B level, you have to correlate that with other tech, but also within itself. So you see something in a public cloud. Is that also happening in your private cloud? Did this originate from your developer's laptop? Did this originate from some other endpoint? To be able to pull all that together is really valuable. And I love that. I also love the
yeah.
fact that the space we're in, CNAP, is growing so fast, about 20% CAGR, right, year over year. And we're growing faster than that. And I think we have a chance to outpace the market here because of our approach. And I think we're going beyond, CNAP, Cloud Native Application Protection Platform, is really defined today by CSPM, by posture management, right? Cloud Security
Yeah.
Posture Management. And we perform that function as well, right? The ability to use an agentless approach to scan for vulnerabilities and present those back so that a company can start, battening down the hatches, so to speak. And but I like that we go well beyond that, and that our approach to that is really more of a hybrid cloud approach. The
Yeah.
stats I've heard recently, that I have not validated are something like 30 to 40% of the workloads are non-cloud. So that means 70% are on-prem still, and you're only analyzing that. That's an issue. Now you may be using another system for on-prem, and that's great, but they're not talking to each other. So a threat that is traversed from on-prem to public cloud, you don't have any of that information, that contextual information. And to your earlier points about what's different in security or what needs to be addressed, that defense in depth comes from knowing everything and being able to analyze that and being able to analyze a lot of information and sensitize it to what's actionable right now. I think that's what's not happening enough. And that's what drew me in for the tech perspective is really a hybrid cloud approach to CNAP. And the fact that our customers in the cloud get a lot of value, our customers that are developing tech, we have a lot of tech companies in our portfolio, whether it's game tech or fintech or gov tech or just tech. So I love all of that. And it's a really exciting topic to bring up with partners, right? To bring it back to my channel hat that I wear as a global channel leader here. Our partners are interested in this. This is an interesting thing to talk about. They want to hear what we do that others don't do. They want to hear what we do that addresses concerns they've heard from their customers, their prospects. And that's exciting. And then to tie it back to the program that you mentioned, I was excited to build a program from scratch. Went out and talked to a number of folks in industry, great cybersecurity VARs and generalist partners that have a cybersecurity practice. What do they like? What do they not like? What are they hearing? What are the things that cause them pain in the field? And look, I'll synthesize that. A lot of it comes back to opportunity and profitability. So are we recruiting so many partners that we can't get deal reg on a deal as a partner because you've already given it to somebody else? We're not trying to over recruit. We're trying to be very particular about that and make sure we have people that are committed to upticks as something they're leading with. We also want a certain number of go-to or focused partners per territory that really we can both bank on each other for opportunity. That matters too. And then from a profitability perspective, we do honor deal registration. I know that's a cliche, but not every company does. Some companies take deals direct. Some companies mandate the kind of margins their partners can make. We're not out to do that. We're out to give those who are invested and bought in and registered some opportunity. They're going to offer real value to the customer alongside of us. They get the best pricing from us, and we want to honor that. So opportunity also means co-marketing together. And that's, again, no company, no matter how big you are or small you are, has unlimited resources, unlimited people, unlimited resources. So people are going to spend time with the people that are around them. They can't spend time with 50 partners. They can probably spend time with 5 to 10 partners. Who are they? And then who can we fund events and activities with? And that goes to our marketing spend as a company, but even as a partner, right? They can't do an event every single night with different vendors. It just doesn't work. So you have to be important to somebody, and they have to be important to you. I think those are the kind of key elements that have me excited about what we're launching here with Upward, because it's built into the program.
Absolutely love that. So in case people want to find out more, kind of no matter what angle they're approaching us from, where can they find us?
I think the easiest place to start is uptick.com/partners. That'll detail the partner program. You can also browse around our website and find out why Upticks, what we do that's different, how we approach CNAP in a broader way that includes hybrid cloud. That's a great approach. But again, if you are a cyber partner out there that is looking for somebody that stands behind what they say and means it, I think at the end of the day, that's really what it comes down to. And I've talked about this before, Broman, on other formats, but our leadership on down is fully bought into our 100% channel centric and channel focused approach. And that's playing out every day now. And I'm seeing the benefits of that. And I think our entire teams are seeing the benefits of that approach. So upticks.com/partners.
Yeah, makes a huge difference. Love it. Perfect. And in case people want to find you, you're kind of a channel celeb. Can they connect with you on LinkedIn? You got a website? What are we talking?
Can reach me on LinkedIn. I'm on there as Mark Fitz, and you can reach me on Twitter at Channel Fitz. And look, I enjoy connecting with partners, with other vendors that want to collaborate. These are all great opportunities for us to learn. That's another thing you asked earlier about how I learn. A lot of times it's from other people in industry. It's from partners. It's from my peers here at Upticks, but it's also from previous peers. And I love those connections that we're all making with each other. I think it's making us all more valuable to each other and to the partners and customers we serve.
Love that. Yeah, cybersecurity is a team sport, and we would do well to remember that. Yeah, we're all actually on the same team here to some extent, for sure. Well, Mark, thank you so much for your honestly fantastic advice, both personal and professional. I really appreciate this, and you've given me a lot of clips to choose from in terms of really excellent sound bites here. So thank you so much for your time, and I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you. Thanks for the opportunity to be on here. It's always good riffing with you. I always enjoy it. Love to do it again sometime.
Heck yeah, you're welcome back anytime. Awesome. Thanks for listening, everyone, and we'll see you out in cyberspace.